Good morning, good day, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We're delighted that you could spend some time with us today. We'll be talking about some very big buzzwords, AI and e-commerce, and what that can mean for exporters, and how we think we could possibly help you as America's exporters to harness these tools and shape your future. Build your sales pipelines. So while the last of you are logging on, let us introduce ourselves. First of all, I am really delighted and pleased to be here with James. James Bledsoe is a senior international trade specialist with the U.S. Commercial Service. He's based on the West Coast. He's an absolute fountain of knowledge, but he's really focused, especially on today's activity. He is the director of the E-commerce Solutions Center. And he will be talking to us a bit more about that and presenting what that means and what a resource that is for exporters, for people who are looking at e-commerce solutions. So he will go through some of those services that are also provided by U.S. Commercial Service. I will let James introduce himself more later on. And myself, my name is Susanna. I'm Chief Content Officer at IBT Online. And just a quick word on IBT Online. We're a private company where our head office is in Florida. And we are a digital marketing agency. But we are really focused and known for two aspects. The first aspect is that we focus on mid-cap companies, on the small and medium-sized companies. And the second is that we have a lot of experience in the international markets. So we do a lot of work for American companies who are looking to grow their businesses outside the USA. And because of that, we design things called the online global programs. And these are quite well-trodden paths. These are many US states have experience in them, and a lot of them are also eligible for STEP grant funds. They're designed that way. So if you have an interest, you can let us know. We're also very pleased to announce that we have signed a strategic partnership with the U.S. Commercial Service for e-commerce, and James can also talk a bit about that. And that's really about gaining knowledge, getting the word out there, helping America's exporters, especially in a very fast changing and sometimes difficult to navigate areas like e-commerce. What platforms, what regulations, all those things. So that's what we're trying to build on that. We have an agenda today. We have sort of split things up into 6 big easy buckets on how we saw things. We've left some time at the end of the webinar for Q&A. As I said earlier, we're really pleased that you took the time out today. Spend it with us. We know you're busy. We know that you're running your companies, that you're super busy, and it's a busy time of year. So, that's very precious to us that you've taken this time. In which case, put away your smartphones, put away your other screen, don't answer the emails, sit back with a cup of tea or whatever, and enjoy the webinar. Take the time, ask the questions that you never had time to ask before about the internet, about e-commerce, about AI. And let's talk through some things. We hope that we've made it as proactive, as practical as possible for you, while keeping it within 1 hour. So with that, let's get started. Right, I wanted to start with some big headlines and what I've called the landscape of the whole place. Sort of, just talking through that, today's both the digital and the AI landscape, just to set the stage, as it were. So these numbers, hot off the press, October 2024, 8.2 billion people on the planet, amazingly. Nearly 6 billion unique phones. How about that? Nearly 6 billion phones, and almost 98% of them are smartphones. That means you walk around with the internet all the time when you want it. And there's 5.5 billion people out of those 8 billion using the internet. So 67%, nearly 70%, 2/3 of the planet is using the internet. And most of them on social media. And what blows me away is that they're using it for 6 hours and 40 minutes a day. So 5.5 billion people are online for nearly 7 hours a day, right? So, and so, if you think about that, you can say, as a small mid-cap company, I know where I can find my prospects, and I know how to. They're online, they're on social media. Now, in the U.S., we are, we think we're online all the time and that we use the internet all the time. But if I look at things like, how the use of social media, for example, for brand awareness, the U.S., which is that, this is a horrible graph, by the way. Sorry about this, but the big blue arrow is the USA. That's right to the right-hand side of this graph. That's the USA. Everything else, the rest of the world, the big white band is the world average. So, even in the US, we're nowhere near the world average in terms of our use of social media when we're looking at brands. And this is just one way of measuring that. But so especially for exporters, the use of online marketing, digital marketing, of e-commerce, of you having a really good website becomes really, really important. And when we're looking at e-commerce in particular now, the USA is slightly higher in terms of weekly purchases, than the worldwide average, but not that much higher. I mean, it's really clumped together if you look at it. And if you think, okay, the USA represents about 12% of the global e-commerce market. That's B2C. And both I and especially James will be talking about B2B e-commerce and how important that is as well. So there's some big numbers on the internet. Just to recap, 5.5 billion people on the planet use the internet for nearly 7 hours a day. Almost all of them are on social media. They're on the platform they choose to be. It's not always the one maybe you want to be, but they're on platforms and they're using the internet. And they're using it in very, very dynamic ways, both for e-commerce and for digital marketing. If we look at now AI, and AI with regards e-commerce, before we dig down into the details of it, I wanted to just say, the e-commerce is incredibly competitive. It's like selling. It's like an open market. So it's very, very price sensitive. Anything B2B, B2C, it's always very price competitive. So that AI, there's several things that you need to do about this. AI represents a tool to allow you to increase productivity, allows you to be more dynamic in that e-commerce environment. One of the reasons why I've highlighted, it's price competitive, but it's also experience competitive. You have to have a really seamless, fantastic, beautiful experience for your shopper, even if your shopper is another B2B company. We all got used to Amazon being able to ship the next day, recommending alternatives for us, with a huge selection, with these what are called recommendation systems. Not just Amazon, but all the big platforms, Walmart, Baidu, all of them. So that's permeated all e-commerce activity. So even B2B companies are looking at it and saying, well, yeah, my B2B sales, they're asking for rapid deliveries. They're asking for selections and all kinds of things. So it is competitive. AI can help you with a lot of those challenges, getting better operational efficiency and increasing that customer experience and that seamlessness that one can have. Lastly, I wanted to say there are three, if you like, so what are we talking about when we talk about AI? There's so many different types of AI in e-commerce and with digital marketing, but I've tried to group them into three buckets, as it were. Machine learning, and that's, where does that come into? Those are very much ones that you're used to, that have been around for a long time already, a long time in the internet anyway, a good 20 years. Think about it when you go onto Amazon and you buy a ballpoint pen and it says at the bottom, hey, how about these pencils? That's a type of ML which has been used for recommendation engines, any kind of dynamic pricing and those kind of things like that, the coupons, all of those are types of ML. and they're great for helping companies forecast demand as we go out. Natural language processing, and there's the one that I guess really burst through the clouds everywhere was ChatGPT with LLMs, large language. These basically interpret human language as well. So those are all things like chatbots, customer support. But it also helps with regards customer satisfaction and interaction with customers. So they become as well a very sort of discrete bucket and a great way of increasing your e-commerce viability. And then perhaps the one that's not sometimes a bit overlooked is computer vision, is CV. That allows computers to process visual data. If you've ever gone on looking for something, you say, well, I can't find it in the written side. I'm going to look at images. And the alt tags on your website will help that CV understand and picture those images and put them in the best place. So it's all those visual searches, but it's really, really important for B2B companies because you can look at quality control and also sometimes even identifying mistakes, identifying defects. So those are the big landscape that I wanted to show you, both about the online world and some of the big AI for e-commerce world. Just to get started here, are you already doing business internationally? Have you already reached out with your e-commerce platforms to, or just in market partners to other markets, whether that's Canada, Mexico, elsewhere, or are you still thinking about it? Thank you very much for answering that poll. We'll have a few more as it comes along. Before I turn to James to talk more about B2B, I thought we'd summarize some of the sort of what, from a digital agency point of view, what we look at as the list of e-commerce must-haves, and why. I wanted to group and show you examples also of why companies go into e-commerce and what they do with it, some of those motivations. So when we're looking at e-commerce or anything on the web, it's always about the buyer persona. So you have to put yourself in the position of the buyer rather than you, the company. So it's your buyer. What platform are they on? How are they browsing the web? What do they want to see? Where do they want to go? What do they want to find out? How are they finding out? How are they interacting? You go where your buyer is. You go on their platform. You go with their imagery, with their language, in the way that suits them best. So I've listed 10 criteria here, which we think makes up best practice websites. They're all relevant to the local buyer persona. And this is really important when you're looking at international websites and what's called localization. So that whole localization aspect, you'll note that language is one aspect of that, one criteria of that, but where you're hosted and how you're hosted, what CMS platform you're using, the regulatory environments that you're on, all of those start to be really important for your website and never to be forgotten, as ever. Those are absolutely the key essentials for those. And when you're looking at e-commerce, again, that adds an extra layer. Excuse me. It adds an extra layer to it because there's sort of like a checklist you've got to go through, again, relevant to your local buyer. So if your payment method, for example, is only about U.S. credit cards, that might not work that well in Japan or South Africa or whatever. They might want different systems. That whole shipping and order fulfillment, it has to be seamless. It takes a lot of trust to go through the motions for a buyer to click on a website, to browse a website, to put something in a cart, and to actually go through payment. It takes a lot of trust. Anything wrong on that list, and your buyer's gone. And the trust link is broken. And that's really not a good thing for your brand because it reflects on your brand. It says, I don't like this brand. I'm worried about it. I don't trust it. So that's why it's really important to get all those things lined up before you hit the road. A couple of quick examples. Talking first about brand. So these are some of our clients, and I wanted to highlight some of them because they've come to the website and e-commerce for different reasons. Obviously, the first reason is to sell their products and top line. But it was really important, for example, for this company to build a brand awareness. They make a product which is sold in Walmart, on Amazon, on Asda, on online, all over the place. But they were beginning to lose that brand identity. It was, who are we? And your brand is your only defense against price erosion. So you really have to make sure that your brand is working hard for you. And so we designed the website in order to have this strong brand awareness. And then they do a whole lot. How do you grow that brand awareness? You do it through digital marketing. And we do a whole series of social media marketing and recipe sharing. Okay, they make grill toppers, but they're interested in family occasions, outdoor occasions, friends, social selling. Therefore, sharing recipes. All of those things become important to the brand in order to build the trust you need to buy the grill toppers. The next example I wanted to give you is an example of a Virginia company, actually, and they're a global brand for the tennis court industry, and they also do tennis. They sell tennis equipment as well. They're strong in Europe. We manage their European businesses, and they have three separate websites that they use: Germany, UK, and France, to support their in-market partners in those industries. And those websites they're similar in terms of brand recognition and brand guidelines, but they're different in terms of objectives and the seasonalities, the different competitions, and so on. And their logistic partners fit in very well to this. This is a company that really takes on the brand awareness and the pushing marketing of their products to help their logistic partners in those markets. The next one I wanted to do is again really about a brand. It's a Michigan company, and they make a product which it's not always easy to show. It's not always easy to show the difference between one product and another on there, as you can see in this. They make these are anti-rust products. So for moving, for example, metal products from A to B, you wrap it in these things. And how do you do that? You do that by having a very, very strong brand. And throughout their website, you can see pictures of people it's a very human website because you are always selling to another human being. And so again, that strong brand awareness comes through for that. I wanted to show you also how e-commerce can help you push and support your global distributor network. And again, this is maintaining your brand, maintaining your imagery, but using it for lead generation. This is a company called Amsoil, a Wisconsin company, and we do their international work for them. But all of the marketing and brand awareness is not given over to their distributors. It's all done in-house. But the e-commerce part of it is done really through the company, but the logistics and the after sales and the that kind of on the ground is done by their in-market partners throughout the world. Now, I've given you a map of Mexico here, but they have it from South Korea to Africa, to Europe, and so on. So again, a very strong awareness of the importance of the brand in e-commerce and how to support your local distributors by using e-commerce. The next one is really, I'm not sure the slide has come out very well. What's circled there on the bottom of the slide says 78. They have 78 pages of different products. And this is a company, I think it's again a Virginia, yes, it is a Virginia company. And we built them U.S. websites and then also the Brazilian and Latin America websites. And what's important here, it's a B2B company. What's important here is that the companies, their clients are able to choose exactly which product component and make a whole basket of them and say, okay, there's, I want one of these and 6 of these and so on. And there's such a huge source of product in there. And with the e-commerce platform they're using, it is very easy to filter. And again, and I'm sorry, it doesn't come across very well, but you can start to see some of the, where underneath the product, you can start to see some of the filtering options. So clients can come in and say, I want with this kind of memory chip, I want it with that kind of electricity supply, I want it with this kind of finishing, and so on and so on. And they can really filter and choose out of all those hundreds of products that the company has. And again, making it really easy to do business. What's backing this up is basically a very strong e-commerce platform and tool with an AI attached to it. The last example is something that we're seeing a lot of, and it's very similar to my previous one about sort of building a cart. This is a very simpler version. It's something we're seeing a lot of. B2B companies who want to fulfill their clients' requests to have some form of e-commerce enablement. But they have complicated products, or it doesn't just end in a quick purchase. So what you do is you allow your client, your customer, to go onto your website and pick and choose what they want, put it into a cart, and ends with request a quote. So there's no payment gateway. There's no fulfillment gateways either. So there's none of those apps in the e-commerce. You simply disable them in the e-commerce software, and then you have something that ends up as being a sales qualified lead. So your salesmen sit there and they get request a quote from a client who's come onto the website and said, okay, now this request a quote allows me to call up this client and say, okay, you're in fact, we would suggest something even better for you, or how do you want to pay, or whatever it is they want. Let's do that. So again, a really, really interesting way, and that is something that we're seeing a lot of. Before I hand over to James, I wanted to just give you couple more things about sort of e-commerce must-haves. Choosing the right platform is really important. Please, if you're getting just into e-commerce now, spend the time and take the time it takes to figure out which platform suits you best. Not just today, but think longer term. Because once you go onto one of those roads, it's a lot of investment. It's going to be really hard to back down that track and take a different route. So, if you want to do Shopify, figure out, where am I likely to be in 3 years? Is Shopify best for me? If I want to do WooCommerce, figure it out. What's my tech stack in-house? How can I outsource this to people like IBT or anyone else? What do I need for that kind of WooCommerce? Well, does it only go with WordPress? All those questions. If you really get stuck, give us a call. We're happy to talk you through it. I've included Monster Commerce there. It's not so, it's probably less well known. Magento is also great. I mean, WooCommerce is the dominant one, has about 45% market share worldwide. Shopify is number 2 with about 18% worldwide market share. Great companies, great alternatives. We don't mind which ones you choose. We're happy though to talk. We just really want to make sure you choose the right one. So make sure you're asking the right questions from the very start about how to do that. An important other aspect about e-commerce and AI, and I'll get onto this as well later, is compliance and digital privacy and compliance. Just to give you a tip, if you are a U.S. company and your website is not compliant and does not have, for example, an SSL certificate, a European seeing that, if you're based in Europe, I come onto your website, I get a big yellow triangle saying, warning, not safe, right next to your brand. Now, that is not a reassuring thing to see. That is not a good look. So do make sure that your website is secure, has a minimum of that, a minimum SSL certificate of encryption against being hacked, and then think hard about what you need to have in terms of online compliance. Again, think of that thing about building trust for your clients. If I see that someone cares about my privacy, I'm more likely to trust them with my thoughts, my data entry, my email, my credit card. So I might, go on to that buying journey, progress along that journey enough to actually fill a cart and pay for it. So again, think hard about it. I've mentioned GDPR because it's the highest barrier, it's the highest, the highest one that you can go for. That if you do GDPR, you're good for all the rest. Your California, your Japan, everything else, it's fine. It's covered by GDPR. So that, in a sense, is just the easiest one to highlight. Um, Last one I've just highlighted is something called guardrails, and this is something. If your data compliance and so on is for e-commerce, guardrails are something that you're going to need for AI. And AI is fast. I mean, it goes without saying, it's fast evolving. It is emerging. It's not to be taken lightly. You need to think hard about what it means for your company internally and how you're going to manage it internally. You don't want sort of everyone just going off on doing their own thing on AI. It will open up a real Pandora's box of difficulties for you as a corporation, and you might have some very serious uh, mistakes. So really think hard about how to contain it, how to manage that, what AI systems suit you best. Have some rules. Get the board around the table and say what platforms should we adopt and why. Do we want just any old AI or should we choose one? Which one is best for us? And then a little quote there from the Marketing AI Institute: the importance of learning and training your staff. Don't just throw AI out there and think everyone's going to adopt it. They're not. So really, think about how to do a regulatory compliance, transparency. There has to be some kind of human oversight and accountability, and then continuous monitoring and testing. So there's some things on that slide that you might want to think about longer term in terms of guardrails for your internal company for that. Phew, okay. If you'd like to learn more about e-commerce, our online global programs, or the digital marketing and all the other things we've been talking about, the AI as well, you're very welcome to get in touch, or we could show you. If you want, we'll send you some emails or point you in the right direction. Thank you very much for that, and I'm going to turn over to James. James.
Thank you,
Over to you.
Susanna. Sorry, I had to hit the mute button.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. My name is James Bledsoe. I'm director of the E-commerce Solutions Center. I'm located here in Tacoma, Washington, and I'm going to be presenting to you today about the B2B side of e-commerce. Next slide, please. So first, I'd like to talk to you about the U.S. Commercial Service and the organization I work with and how that overlaps with your cross-border e-commerce. And so the U.S. Commercial Service, the organization I work for, focuses on helping U.S.-based exporters to sell their products and services overseas, to include online sales channels. So if you're looking for assistance from everything from export counseling, regulations counseling, market intelligence to business matchmaking services, feel free to reach out to the U.S. Commercial Service to learn more about what's available to you as a U.S. business for free. Next slide, please. The overall point of my outreach that I try to underscore every time I speak to an audience is the fact that e-commerce as a sales channel is always growing, and that is for the main reason that Susanna highlighted earlier, and that's the fact that everybody is spending 6 hours per day online shopping in their free time, doing things online. And that experience and expectation, that Amazon effect, as it's called, carries over into the other 8 hours a day most people spend online for their work, for their jobs. Next slide, please. So B2B is, excuse me, a major driver for use of AI technology. And we'll really drill down to what this AI technology is and dispel, hopefully, a lot of myths about what it is not. So you understand that, like Susanna said earlier, this is a tool to use in your business to help your sales. And leading the way internationally is us, the U.S. We have the most R&D expenditure looking into AI technologies, followed by China, Japan, Germany, and South Korea. The return on investment from that is pretty much the same countries, but in a different order on the lower ranking ones there with the lower R&D. Next slide, please. So, what are the impacts of AI technologies to the industries? I know that is a hot topic issue for a lot of folks out there. It's coming for our jobs. It's going to replace. No, it's not. The most impact for automation you're going to see in the banking and insurance industries because simply a lot of those processing tasks can be automated. And that's a lot of the AI function is automation there. The most beneficial augmentation I see is for the health and public service sectors with AI augmentation, tools to allow you to better see your client base, better make connections of clients' healthcare across different service providers, the cancer doctor versus the ear doctor versus the lung doctor are all better to able to communicate with the client's files using these AI technologies. And then finally, least impacted of all for the industries out there is going to be the natural resources, the trades, chemicals, heavy manufacturing, simply for the fact that technology is not intensively used in the actual conducting of the work. It is very human based. We don't have robots there replacing the people to use AI to eliminate those jobs. So really the only effect AI has on those trade craft, tradesmen, mining, logging type jobs, farming jobs, really the only impact has on those type of jobs is to better organize and schedule calendars and perhaps digital marketing. That's the impact to those jobs. Your actual job of framing a house or installing electrical conduit in it is not going to be impacted at all. Next slide, please. So, how is AI actually being used then in B2B transactions, in B2B business? Well, the majority of it is in the procurement area of the business function. And it helps to better analyze and see all of your data. It helps to automate a lot of the processes that take hours and hours of cross-referencing spreadsheets, Excel spreadsheets, this and that other databases. It does that automatically. That's the artificial intelligence machine learning that you uh, give those environments for it to do that. And then also it also connects better with different online environments that you have. Website analytics, crossing with your social analytics, crossing with your inventory at your home base there, crossing with maybe an online registry of contacts that you have there. All those different software pockets are able to better communicate with each other there with the use of these AI tools in B2B. Next slide, please. So the adoption rate of AI in B2B has fluctuated. And I find that interesting because I'm not quite sure what's driving the back and forth of the adoption rates that we see there on the left-hand chart. But the majority of the industries that are driving this adoption again are healthcare and education, financial services, manufacturing, and entertainment industries. And this is because of the strong R&D involved in that. That is the output for all of this R&D is from those industries. Next slide, please. So what does the process of artificial intelligence look like? Well, artificial intelligence, AI, is a very broad term that encompasses everything from machine learning to robotics to artificial neural networks to generative AI. Pretty much anything falls under that AI, artificial intelligence. But within that, for instance, this machine learning, you see to the left there, the process of how it works, you have different modes of machine learning that are employed for the output. So you have things like supervised learning, where you're there giving the inputs, like you would to your chat GPT friend, telling them to do this and then do that. You then have unsupervised learning, where, for instance, that would be sending the AI bot or chat GPT out to do its own research on the internet. It's unsupervised. It's going out there finding from wherever it wants. And then reinforcement learning, that yes, do this, no, don't do that. It's all part of the process of the machine learning, and either one or all of them can be employed in a process that involves the application of that new data to the output, then going back into the training of it, of that algorithm. And so you see it's cyclical for AI. It is a machine. It is the processes of a machine minus the actual physical machine itself. So it's very simple. It is a tool. It does not operate on its own. Next slide, please. One last thing I'd like to call out here on this discussion of the use of AI in business and B2B is this Newsweek archive from way back in February of 1995. Now, Mr. Stoll here, very intelligent gentleman, has since laughed at himself and this article many times, but I like to highlight this and reflect upon it because I think it is very representative of AI and technology today. You can see here a lot of the criticisms of the internet of that time in 1995 is it made people uneasy, it's oversold, that online databases won't replace daily newspapers. No, the daily newspapers adopted online databases and in essence became online databases themselves. My favorite from that is no computer network will change the way government works. I'm a government employee, you all know, right? Yeah, no, this has changed everything. And the same thing I predict will happen for AI tools and AI tool technology, underscoring the tool in there. It's only as effective as I am at understanding it and using it. And it's the same for you. And these tools and resources that you can leverage to make your business more automated and smoother for the end consumer results. And I think that's it. Next slide, Susanna.
Yeah. We'll be getting you back later for more work on that. And just if you would like to learn more about sort of some of the services that James mentioned in the beginning as well about U.S. commercial service and the offerings, please do let us know, and we'll be happy to shoot you an email afterwards. Thank you very much. Now let's talk a little bit about e-commerce. Let's swing back again and more about e-commerce, putting e-commerce and AI together. And really what that means is a lot of it will be focused on the digital marketing side. So I wanted to sort of, with the variety, I mean, online marketing, digital marketing has used AI since the very beginning. That's how Google algorithm is basically as just the kinds of AI that James was pointing out. So digital marketing's been using it for ages. But there's, with the rise of the chat GPTs, these large language models, LLMs, there's a new challenge, which is how to integrate that kind of AI into what's called sales and marketing, called smarketing processes, and aligning your online presence with the AI, the smart AI. So how do you the internet is changing because of AI as well. The way people search, the way search engines work are changing rapidly because of the AI. How do you as a company make sure that your e-commerce, your website, your digital marketing is still on top of the game? So we've always been using it in terms of social media marketing and email marketing, pay-per-click, all those things all depend on AI. But it is really transformative now with what's going on, just the volume of AI, the scale of it, and of course these LLMs. Now, if we look one step further, what are some practical applications? I thought, okay, what are some if I'm in the digital marketing world, so I'm like, how can I show people what are the practical applications of AI for you, especially if you're looking at exporting? AI is used extensively for search engine optimization. Okay, that keyword research and optimization, which is an ongoing process and has to be ongoing, is now also being done increasingly through AI. Content creation. We've heard a lot about this, about the hallucinations and all that. Yes, it's got to be human tracked. It's a tool. So it's only as good as the user is of that tool. So, yes, it's got to be read afterwards. Of course, it's not going to, it's not an expert yet, but it is an amazingly fast and productive way to produce strong drafts if you're looking at content. It's really good at targeting markets and looking at data analysis and therefore customizing any campaigns you have. Obviously, there's lots of things out there about translation. Some of them good, some of them bad. But AI is also really helping that whole personalization that's increasingly important. And for any kind of marketeer, it's really good for data and data analysis and chopping up and looking at data and analyzing it fast. And the faster you can analyze it and the better you can analyze it, the better decisions you can make for that. I wanted to highlight as well that those big trends that are going on at the moment in digital marketing, personalization and community together is incredibly important to see in online marketing for e-commerce and for all kinds of marketing. So I want my own personal experience, and I want my website to remember me, who I am, remember what I'm doing, and I want them to know who I am, which platform I like to use, and how I like to use it. And I like to be able to feel part of a community. I like to have a sort of a tribe thing. Social commerce is really important. Remember those graphs I showed you in the very beginning as well about social media brand awareness, especially if you're an exporter. You need to be thinking about what is my social brand, where is my brand on the social media side? Because that's how a lot of countries, a lot of people will find you. They'll find you on the internet, via Instagram, via TikTok, via WeChat, via all these other things like that. They'll find that how you find your brand. And then I've talked a bit about data privacy and compliance. For social media marketing is one of the biggest ones that you probably already know. It is a way of really reaching and engaging your buyer directly. And it's that whole notion of localizing it. Please, and I just wanted to highlight one thing. Always make sure that it is mobile enabled. Most of those people that you're targeting, even B2B, in traditional industries, especially if you're an export market, they will be looking on their iPhones. They'll be looking on their smartphones at some point, and make sure that it is mobile enabled for that. Just wanted to really highlight that. I wanted also to something that social media marketing you're probably all aware of, but how many of you are already looking at social listening, and what does that mean? Now, social listening is something that historically has been for very big brands. Big consumer brands, especially, who need to know, I'm a big hotel chain. Someone's just had a bad experience in a room. They've posted online about it. I need to be the first to know. That's historically what it's been. But today, social listening is very evolved and is within reach of small and mid-cap companies as well. When we use it, for example, for judging actions, and an example here is, we were trending along. We were doing a Facebook and an Instagram for some of our client, for a particular client, and we kept trending along, sort of rather, we were being innovative, being good, but we couldn't break through sort of 200 daily views, and we wanted more, and we was like, okay, we'll try this, we'll try that. Okay, let's try social listening. Social listening Here's some questions for you, social listening. Here's some questions for you, AI. One of the questions was, should we include a video on our home page? And they came back saying, absolutely. One, your best in class competitor does, and I can see that they're getting more hits than you. And two, your target market really loves videos. And then we did some more research, like what length of video, what size of video, what kind of video, and so on and so on. And the day we implemented it, you can see that spike up. We went from like this 150, 200 to over 500, and we've kept it. And that was just, looking at using AI as a tool to make action, to make decisions. And that. I talked a lot about the data as well, and data also helps you track your return on investment. And return on investment is so critical for anything you do online. E-commerce is fantastic because here's what I invested, here's my return, my sales is my return. But if you're looking at sort of brand awareness or something like that, then you have to spread it a bit wider and say, okay, I need to look at other aspects, not just my sales, but how many clicks, how many this, how many that. Where am I going? Am I looking at? Am I trying to get this into Latin America? Am I trying to get this into Mexico? And so on. And this is something that AI does fantastically, and not quite a push of a button, but nearly, so that it allows companies like ourselves to really drive our clients' digital marketing and come back to them and saying, okay, that's what's happening. This is good, this is bad. Here's where we improve. Here's what's here's where we need to lay it on thicker and drive forward the sales. Um, a last example of AI, which I think is also really important for anyone with in-market partners, whether this e-commerce or not, is allowing you to monitor, as it were, and get real-time analytics on all of your distributors. And the way to do that really is to allow them through portals and to manage them and to look at them and seeing who's doing well and who's doing not so well. And if you're giving them all the same resources, then they should all have the same, they should all be doing just as well. If that, what's going on. And the AI that we can use really helps you understand how the performance of each one of those distributors can be over time, and allows a much clearer discussion between you, the company, and your distributor. You can say, well, you've got the same resources as the other guy. They're doing better. What's going on? It starts at there's a fact-based, data-based, data-driven research. And of course, the other point is allowing your distributors to have all the support they need, which you allow them through your website and through your online presence. So, putting all their documents, data sheets, in all the languages they need. Right, I'm going to turn back to James, and talk a little bit about the e-commerce solutions center as a great resource for America's exporters. James.
Thank you, Susanna. So the e-commerce solutions center is an office that we work with our colleagues across the U.S., the international trade specialists, who work with you, the clients. And how we work with you is through a digital strategy. And there's 5 simple steps to this digital strategy, beginning with helping you to define your digital objectives. Are you selling online? Are you trying to attract sales for offline sales? Then we also help check to make sure that your website is operating like it should as a main mechanism for your online sales. We then help guide you towards addressing those issues in your back-end digital infrastructure, the issues that arise in the SEO checkup that we do with you. And then we also help counsel you to choose your e-commerce sales channel based on market research. Should you focus the majority of your sales on your website? Should you look at marketplaces? Is social media a way that your products are sold online in that market? And then lastly, but not least, we also work with you to help establish key performance indicators, KPIs, making sure that you're looking at your website analytics so that you know that you're getting a return on investment out of all of this work rather than just dumping money and effort into it. Next slide, please. So, how do we work with our clients on search engine optimization? What are we doing exactly? Well, we work with them on a concept called internationalization and the best practices from that. So, in addition to making sure that the website is search engine optimized, meaning that it shows up in a search when it should, we help you make it clear on your website, on your web pages, that you're open for international business and international sales. And then we also help give recommendations and best practices on how to continually add new content and keywords to your website to help it show up in international search. And then we also help you dive into your website analytics to get better insights and better business strategic leverage from your analytics. Next slide, please. So to help you with your website search engine optimization, we have the Website Globalization Review Gap Analysis, WGR for short. And what this WGR service report does is looks at your website two ways. First, through a technical lens using two website crawlers, and then second, through an international sales best practices lens, and then makes overall recommendations to help you improve your online international sales and customer acquisition. And we also provide referrals to e-commerce service providers like IBT Online, who can help you accomplish your goals and fix your issues based on your individual report. We also read through the report and spend over an hour delivering it to you, explaining to you every aspect from the front to the end of it. And by the end of it, hopefully you have a very good grasp on search engine optimization, how your website represents, and your next steps to improve your website and improve your sales as a result. The service takes up to 14 business days to complete, and our fees run between $100 to $400 per report for the businesses based on SBA size standards. So if you're a small business, it would be $100 for the report. If you're a large business, $400. And to do the report, you must coordinate through an international trade specialist that you're already working with, because this report, again, will be delivered to you via MS Teams one-on-one, where we will explain it to you in detail and help you to follow up on the next steps. Next slide, please. Here are a few resources to help you get started today, however, in lieu of getting a service started with the U.S. Commercial Service. At trade.gov, we have the e-commerce frontline library. This is the SEO blog that I write. That is a blog on SEO written with SEO best practices. So if you're looking for examples on how to structure your content, look no further than these page articles to see how you should structure your headings, tags, your paragraphs, and how to insert and phrase your hyperlinked keywords for increasing your search score. Next slide, please. We also have other educational resources videos that we've done with IBT Online. So we have the Grow Your Export series. If you'd like to learn more about how to do e-commerce in Mexico or China, for example, this would be the place to go. We have both live streams and webinars recorded here for you to watch, as well as upcoming events to register for. Next slide, please. If you're looking for more e-commerce information on how to do business, we have the e-commerce resource guide, which is a landing page of our country commercial guide e-commerce sections that covers everything on how to do business in general in the country of interest, to taxes, to sales methods, preferred sales methods. So very in-depth information written by our overseas U.S. Embassy colleagues and provided to you free of charge. Next slide, please. We also have the e-commerce business service provider directory. This is a referral resource if you're looking for service providers out there to work on everything from digital marketing to cyber forensics. Our host, our kindly host here today, IBT Online, is proudly featured on the digital marketing section there of the BSP, as well as, I believe, the sales channel management. Next slide, please. I briefly mentioned these resources at the beginning of my previous batch of slides. This is recapping all of the commercial service programs and resources that are available to you as an exporter, both traditional exporting and online exporting, cross-border exporting. So we have matchmaking services there. We have international partner searches, as well as initial market checks. We also help you at international trade shows. If you're attending ProMedica or Consumer Electronics Show, we can help you at those trade shows with matchmaking meetings as well. We also have foreign government procurements help, as well as commercial diplomacy assistance. So we really have a wide variety of assistance to you as an exporter. We also have global industry teams, depending upon which industry you are in, as well as the Rural Export Center for rural-based businesses looking for services to help them grow their rural business. Last slide, please. So if any of the resources have interested you and you'd like to learn more about them, please visit trade.gov to find out more information. Or if you like, you can reach out directly to me and I can refer you to a local trade specialist there closest to you that can help you understand more about our services and resources that are available to you as exporters. Thank you, Susanna.
Thanks, James. We wanted to ask as well if anyone had any interest, particularly in the WGR. If so, please do drop a line. If you'd like particularly the gap analysis, that's where, for really very little money, $100 to $400, U.S. Commercial Service will do sort of analysis of your website and say what needs fixing. So really, really good resource for that. And thank you very much. Right, we're coming to the end. We want some sort of the sort of conclusions and things, and also some easy wins. We thought, okay, if you're just starting out on all of this, what do you do? I think the first thing you do is you take a look at your existing website. For example, you might want to reach back to the trade.gov and your U.S. Commercial Service rep and say, what do I do? My website's not right, or maybe it is right. You decide, but make sure it's working hard for you. And if it's the digital marketing plus your website is a very, very powerful tool for your growth, for your internationalization, and also for any kind of e-commerce. I think, as we've said a couple of times now, for e-commerce in particular, it has to be really, really top notch. It's really got to be seamless, and that's within everybody's reach today. Even very small companies are able to do that with the different platforms and the different availabilities. So, make sure that your website is working really hard. And that's what I would say in terms of like those digital must-haves that you need to have, in 2024, 2025. We've said a couple of times the importance of your brand. And the brand, it's the guard against price erosion, is the thing that's going to make you able to sell at the price you want to the people you want. So it's really important that you guard that. And where do people look at brands these days? They look online. So your website has to be a reflection of the quality of your brand. People will look at your website, they will look at your digital marketing and saying, I don't know about the product, but I can see that this is a website which is engaging, which is secure, which is compliant, which has good content for me, and is the platform I want it to be. So it's someone I want to interact with. So just a couple of thoughts maybe to have in your mind, about this is when, and I've put on this some particularly for the international, to some easy wins, as it were, when you're looking at your websites. your URLs. So often clients come to us and they say, well, I'm just starting with you, but my URL, my distributor owns it. Oh no, it's not a good idea. It's not a good look. Your URLs are valuable. Keep them. Get in touch. Super easy. Your 1-800 numbers don't always work internationally. Talk to the world. Make sure people know that you are open for business internationally. If you've got international business, highlight it on your website. And then one of the last things I said is focus. Make sure you're focused on one market at a time. Don't spread yourself too thin. And lastly, I just want to say empower your sales and marketing teams. Make sure they're there. Make sure what I say is bring your website and your digital marketing into your sales and marketing weekly meetings. If you've got it going to a trade show, okay. Going to a trade show means what for our website? It means what for our digital marketing? We need more top of the funnel business. Okay, what does that mean for our digital marketing? What does that mean for our website? We're targeting a new market. We're launching a new product. What does that mean for your website? What does that mean for digital marketing? So bring them in on a weekly basis. That helps. Lastly, as James has said, there's a lot of resource. E-commerce is tough. It is not easy. Going international is not easy. But America's exporters have got big, big helping hands. You've got the U.S. Commercial Service. You've got centers like the e-commerce solution centers. You've got private companies who are helping as well. You've got a lot of helping hands. Use them. You don't have to do it alone. As James said, there's a lot on trade.gov for you to explore. On our website, there's also quite a lot of resources on the resource page, even e-commerce. And with that, we have run out of time. But it was a big topic. Both AI and e-commerce in one webinar was a big topic. So I wanted to thank you all very much for attending. Questions will be answered by email separately. But thank you all. I want to big shout out to James for his work, for his commitment to U.S. exporters, and his help both with AI and with e-commerce. James, thank you very much for being here today, and thank you all for attending. Very kind. Take care.
Thank you very much, Susanna.
Take care. Thank you. Bye.